What is up, guys and gals out there on YouTube? Thanks for joining me here on my live cast. Stephen Sturgill will be your host for the next several minutes. Stick around. Well, guys, we're looking once again at the house of imaginary authors. It's been a hot ghetto minute since I've actually covered the house, which means in common parlance, it's been a while. We are looking not at Sundrunk, excuse me. That's one I'll look at in the future. Where did my bottle go? Just had my little spray bottle. Where did it go? There it is. Cobra and the Canary. Okay. Ugh. Swallowed a hair or something. Anyways, that's the little bad boy bottle. Hi, Rich. Thanks for joining my live cast. We're looking once again, guys, at the Cobra and the Canary from the House of Imaginary Authors. It's been a while since I've covered this house, and I figured now that it's really, really the start of hardcore winter here in the States. It's not a bad time to cover this type of scent because I think it pairs well with both fall and winter. I mean, I could have done either or. I could have started this in the fall, but whatever. That's neither here nor there. Let's get into the notes. This dropped way back in 2012, so it's about almost 8 years old now. Wow, time flies. Hop over to the notes. And we're going to get into it, guys. I've got a lot to talk about in terms of the scent profile. If you care to hear that or stick around. Where did my page go? There it is. Okay, the nose on this is Neil Orris. Interesting young man who, let's see, he's not as young as he once was. I think he's about 31, going on 32 now, at least. But at any rate, comes from rural Connecticut. Barn housing his deceased father's secret obsession. It says a pristine 64 Shelby Cobra Roadster. What a cool car that is, guys. It is the getaway ticket he was desperately searching for after liberating his best friend, like Ike, from his dead-end job on the family farm. The two hit the open highway aiming for the Palm Springs racetracks. The journey is a blur of seedy motels. Okay, I'm thinking this is just a blurb. I'm so sorry, guys. What am I? Reset. The nose on this is Josh Meyer, which I knew. I'm just reading the stupid blurb and brain fart. Anyways, the nose is Josh Meyer. I'm reading the entire. This is like a fake background story to the scent, which is kind of cool and kind of silly, kind of kitschy, all in one. Backing up again, the nose is Josh Meyer, which I already knew, and I think Josh is actually middle aged. What am I saying? The write up for this mythical Neil Orris guy, which hint is alluding to the fact that Orris is a prime star of the scent. We'll get into that in a minute. When a tip from a clairvoyant leads 23-year-old Neil Orris to rural Connecticut barn. Okay, I already read all that stuff. After liberating best friend Ike from his dead-end job, they take off, hit the river Palm Springs. The journey is a blur of seedy motels, cool swimming pools, hot debutantes, cocktails, and cigarette smoke. Each stop finds the friends inventing new pseudonyms and personas for themselves. Their innocent game hurtling into the depths of decadence and desolation. Okay. That's all cool and exotic and sexy, and it's also pretty silly and kitschy, whatever. We're going to get into the good, the bad, and the fairly ugly here in a second. Notes, if you're still here, are lemon, orris, tobacco flowers, leather, hay fields, and asphalt. Okay. The good news is this is a very wearable scent. And there's quite a few components to really get into and like about this scent. So if you like tobacco, guys, if you like leather and sort of that grassy hay with a kind of a strong lemon butter type of orris vibe, a little pledgy, if I'm honest. It's a little pledgy. It suffers a little bit of the same problems that I initially had with Club de Nuit Intense Man, which I initially poo-pooed all over that, and then I came back about a year later and rethought it and thought, wow, it's pretty darn good. I'm not going to make the same mistake here, guys. But I will tell you that this, to me, has a lot of the same componentry in terms of that lemon pledgy, very slightly synthetic. Yeah, it's fairly synthetic. That citrus vibe he's got in here, it has incredible longevity for a citrus, which leads me to believe that it's probably entirely synthetic. I could be wrong, but the way it sticks around throughout the bulk of the fragrance's journey leads me to believe that that's neither here nor there. That's not a bad thing. And then you've got the buttery orris component, which has a. Oh, no. I'm on a live cast, Pops. That's my dad there, guys. Anyways, like I was saying, that buttery orris has a unique sort of motor oil component to the fragrance. And what else can I say about this? The tobacco is not cigarette smoke to me. That's not a fair statement. It's more of like a leftover cigar that's kind of been there a while, and it's not bad. You don't get any of the acridness. You don't get that pungent, metallic, old, ashy type smell at all. It's just more of a hint of a cigar. And then what else can I say? It's the leather. Let's talk about the leather for a second. The leather is, for me at least, very soft. It's a very sort of relaxed. By the way, guys, just for what it's worth, we don't live together, but he has a key to my house. That's all I'll say on that. We do not actually live together. Not that that's a bad thing. Just want to throw that out there. At any rate, I will also say that the leather, it's there, but it's soft. And for me, the scent is mainly driven by the well, not mainly driven. The opening through the mids is mainly dominated by the slightly buttery citrus component, which later kind of smells or feels like buttery motor oil mixed with a little bit of cigar, a really high dollar cigarette, mostly natural style. You do get that grassy green vibe from the hay or the heather. It's an interesting scent. I'm not sure how I feel about it in terms of how sexy it is. It's good, certainly. It's wearable, certainly. It's pretty good. It's maybe very good, but I don't think this is very much to most people's preferred sensibilities in terms of a fragrance that they want to actually rock. So I'll leave that to you to decide. It's an interesting scent, fairly linear. There's some transition. For me, not a world of transition. But before I finish, I'll just say, look, to each their own. I'm not so far the biggest proponent of this house. I just haven't found anything that's bowled me over or that I'm in love with. But this is an eminently wearable scent. I do think it bodes well for winter and fall. If you want to rock a scent like this, there are those components in there. You're going to get some soft suede type leather, a little bit of a cigar, cigarette type vibe, mixed in with that sort of heather, grass, herbal type component. Again, that citrus, orris, buttery type aspect is there for much of the development of the fragrance. Not sure that's going to be to everyone's taste, but just to give you an idea of where people are sort of all over the map on this, let's head on over to base notes. and I'll read some. I'm not going to read too much out, but I'll read some of the high points. So, Kitty Two Shoes says, leather and lemon, interesting and unusual combo. I'll give it that. Lemon is not the bright and fizzy, more of a subdued one, close to furniture polish lemon. And I said pledge, guys. And here's Kitty Two Shoes saying furniture polish lemon. That's very astute and I would say accurate. It's not all bad though. Leather is soft and isn't that pronounced. And at times, as time goes on, I definitely get the smell of tobacco and almost damp hay. Well, that was covered quite distinctly in the blurb. And she says, definitely an interesting scent, and agree with Lanchart. Okay, something different than normal scents out there, and at the price point, something worth a go to try. Okay. Speed Race. I'm not going to read all of it, but he does say spiced, buttery opening. Heart is leather dominant, but the leather note should be accessible to many, not as polarizing as some other very strong leathers that I've smelled before. There's some nice florals. Lasts all day. Good projection. Okay, Big Matt says he really likes the imaginary author's line. Once it settles down, he gets a strong medicinal plaster note in a good way. Yeah, it's supposed to have asphalt, whatever that means. Speaking of asphalt, guys, I don't think that's a real scent. I think it's just an imaginary way of noses trying to mentally associate, the smell of asphalt with whatever is actually in the aroma chemical, but that's really kind of neither here nor there, whatever. I'm just kind of expounding on that. Big Matt also says it's not complex and doesn't go on a real journey, but for me, enjoyable nonetheless. Yeah, I just mentioned, guys, that for me, it's quite linear for the most part. There is some transition, not a lot. Then Sebi 101, which is PSEBI, opens with a fresh and bitter leather. Leather's quite raw. I didn't get that at all, guys. I'm surprised how well it's blended with lemon. Stuff's really nice, combining dry but warm hay note with the leather and lemon is surprisingly good, and it lifts the composition to another level. Hay also brings a mentholated smell. I don't get too much of that menthol aspect, but a lot of people are commenting on that, so maybe that's just different noses. I mean, there's maybe the slightest hint of that I get is from the pledge, and not so much an actual menthol as such. But that's just my opinion. It says the combination reminds him of septic bandages in hospitals. Him or her, it could be a woman, I don't know. Within 2 hours, smell shifts into a new direction. The leather, which seems to be more on the top, mostly disappears. No more traces of the menthol or hospitals. Pledge. But the freshness remains there, still citrus, and it's heard the beautiful iris and a sort of coconut fig leaf that's milky and creamy. Fifth hour shifts back, freshness is gone, leather comes back, motor oil vibe, weird combo, oily, creamy. Yeah, I did get some of that as well, guys. It has a slightly oddball, oily, creamy, motor oil type vibe mixing. I think it's from the Oris primarily. But and then Nick Z really, really didn't like it at all. He slammed it, calling it, and I quote, he's from Aussie, Australia, a coarse, unpleasant fume, amateur in construction, avoid. Thank you, Nick, for it shows how you really feel. Anyways, obviously, guys, there's not so much vitriol out there as Nick's, but there is a lot of different feelings on both the scents from imaginary authors and the house in general. And finally, Claminol from the States says, a different take on leather. TCAC is a unique fragrance, as one might expect from the Americana niche designer, imaginary authors. The opening is a beeswax-like grassy accord that I don't care for at all, but it gradually sweetens and an old leather note appears along with faint tobacco leaves and perhaps a barn-like hay in the background. The leather heart notes sweetened with the tobacco is really pretty nice, but the offensive waxy opening sort of lingers in the background and makes what could have been a unique leather sour. TCAC has a distinct odor, outdoor feel to it. I do agree to a point, and might be a good option for someone who works outside, or most of the notes seem natural and maybe even weathered. If a scent could be such a thing, TCAC slightly reminds me of Towers Lone Star Memories, and even more of DS and Durga's Cowboy Grass. And I'm going to say, guys, I do definitely think there's some kind of similarities between Tower's Lone Star Memories and DS Durga's Cowboy and Grass. Now, in my personal opinion, I don't personally think it's quite as good as either Tower or DS and Durga's, but that's my own two personal sense. You may absolutely think it's head and shoulders better, or at least as good, and you're more than welcome to your qualified opinion, or even your unqualified opinion, however good that is. That's just my own personal. I'm not saying it's way worse or anything. I just don't think it's quite as refined as either of those, quite as nuanced, and I don't even think it's necessarily as strong as either of those. But that's just my personal, especially DS and Durgas, but that's just my personal opinion. Anyways, they go on to say, and I'll end it on this note, the Americana niche is more about evoking an atmosphere as much as the scent. IMO, and in that regard, TCAC is a success. Notwithstanding the odd opening, the body of TCAC, which is, an acronym for the Canary and the Cobra, it just isn't my style, but I wouldn't say it's a bad frag. So neutral rating for me. That's to some extent largely how I feel, but I wouldn't say neutral. I would say this actually is pretty good, but not great. I would definitely never personally, as of yet, rate this as a truly great fragrance. But again, we all have our different styles or different opinions. We're drawn to different things. I think it's a very interesting mood, sort of atmospheric type of scent. It is a bit smoky. It does have that lemon leather type thing going on. But more than that, I don't find it incredibly engrossing, nor all that interesting. It's, again, for me, it's very linear, not 100%. I'd say it's about 75 to 80% linear on my skin. Hey, Robes. Hi. And Batfink Reynolds, haven't seen you for quite a while, my brother. Happy New Year, guys. Thanks for joining me on my live cast. Excuse me. Getting a little fragrance here caught in the throat. I'm gonna button this up again. Anyways, that's gonna do it, guys. This is a good scent. I wouldn't necessarily say great, but again, that's just my own personal limited thinking on this fragrance. It's a very interesting house. Definitely check out all the offerings by Mr. Myers. I hope I got that right in pronunciation, Mayer or Meyer. At any rate, check out Imaginary Authors. You may absolutely find some gems that you fall in love with, or at the very least, you'll add something to your collection that is very interesting and different, and may, at least, if nothing else, start your journey into the niche and artisanal type of collecting, if you want to do that. Some of us do at times get tired of designer houses, I should say. And this is not the time nor the to have that debate. There's great design fragrances out there. There's great houses out there that are strictly designer, and there's a lot of cheap designer crap out there as well. So that's whatever. There's something for everyone at every price point. That's going to do it, guys. Happy New Year to all of you. Hope you're having a wonderful first of the new year here in 2020. Keep your fragrance journey going, guys. Spray often, spray well. Live life on your terms if you can, because life's either too short or too long, depending what you've got going on in your life. Love you guys. Sincerely, thanks for supporting the channel. If you like, please subscribe and click the bell for future updates. Peace out, my brothers.